What if the pampered daughters of America's old money elite were not just victims of privilege, but also of their own blood? Behind the lace collars, gilded portraits, and debutante balls lies a chilling truth. Many of this nation's wealthiest women were born from generation after generation of cousin and kin marriages. Their lives shimmered with outward elegance, but inward they fractured under the weight of inherited fragility. Today, we peel back the veneer of opulence to reveal mental breakdowns, deformities, and tragic lives that were never meant to be known. Before we dive deeper into this untold chapter of American history, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Only subscribers see this side of history raw, personal, unfiltered. Start with the striking example of the Bland family of Virginia, descendants of colonial aristocracy who intermarried to secure land and status. Their daughters were expected to be flawless, physically and socially. But journals describe one girl, Emily Bland, who spoke to mirrors as if they held other people inside. Doctors of the 1840s wrote of her trembling hands and vacant stare. They called it melancholy, but modern historians suspect a serious psychiatric condition exacerbated by her family's close blood tradition. Then there was Isabella Randolph, granddaughter of a signer of the Declaration of Independence. She was described in society pages as strikingly fair, yet beneath that beauty lay a slowly collapsing body. At 18, she began suffering fainting spells, seizures, and eventually paralysis. Her letters speak of voices in her head. Handwriting samples show severe tremor. Could it have been the genetic legacy of both sides of her family sharing the same ancestors for generations? In Boston, the Boylston Adams cousins carried their shared lineage too far. Margaret Adams married her distant cousin from the Boylston family in one of the city's most talked about weddings of the era. But in just a few years, Margaret's mother reported in private letters that her daughter's nerves were unraveling, that she lost weight, spoke to shadows, and one doctor gently suggested she might be manic depressive, a trait sometimes inherited. This pattern repeats across the country, from the Carters, Randolphs, and Custises in the South to the Peabodys, Cabots, and Lowells in New England. Daughters bore the cost of preserving wealth. Their lives were often cut short, their minds strained under constant social and genetic pressure. Yet history textbook pages remain silent on this, because it's personal, shameful, and messy. Maybe our founding generation didn't consider inbreeding a problem so long as it preserved the family name. Or perhaps they believed God would protect the bloodlines. Whatever the reason, the result was real. Children who should have danced at balls spent their days in dark nurseries. Young ladies rumored to be destined for marriage never found husbands, some because of physical deformities, others because their behaviors frightened society. This is not just a story of women who suffered. It's a story of how power, privilege, and isolation can warp what looks like perfection. It's the story of daughters raised to be symbols, but shattered by biology. They were the daughters no one spoke of, except in hushed tones behind ballroom doors or scrawled in diary margins. In gilded homes across Virginia, Massachusetts, and the Carolinas, they sat behind drawn curtains, quietly unraveling under the crushing weight of their DNA. Take the haunting story of Eleanor Carter, born into one of the South's most powerful dynasties. Her father and mother were first cousins, both descendants of Robert King Carter, one of the wealthiest colonial landowners. Eleanor's birth was celebrated with lavish parties, but by the time she turned 16, cracks had already begun to show. Letters from her governess describe fits of screaming laughter, followed by days of silence. Her family built her a private garden, surrounded by stone walls so neighbors wouldn't hear her crying at night. Then there was Annabel Cabot, a New England blue blood whose lineage stretched back to the Mayflower. She had the face of an angel, according to one family friend, but also a nervous system on the brink of collapse. Medical records mention frequent fainting, blindness episodes, and uncontrollable tremors. Her family chalked it up to hysteria, but her symptoms mirrored genetic neurological disorders linked to endogamy. One physician, privately consulted, dared to suggest that the purity of the Cabot line may be its greatest flaw. In a quiet manor outside Charleston lived Mary Custis Lee, great-granddaughter of Martha Washington and cousin to Robert E. Lee. Her life was a paradox, raised as a Southern belle, but denied even basic freedoms due to her episodes. Historical records show she was institutionalized by age 25 after an incident where she claimed her reflection was watching her sleep. Her art, fragile watercolors, now hidden in family vaults, show human figures melting at the edges, with blank stares and mismatched limbs. It was as if her inherited trauma bled into every brushstroke. These women weren't just the victims of private pain. They were symbols of a society obsessed with purity, wealth, and legacy. Their families intermarried to preserve dynasties, but those very unions planted the seeds of decline. In one chilling letter dated 1882, a Boston matron wrote to her sister, "Perhaps the Lord intends for our kind to dwindle. The girls are beautiful, but brittle. I fear we've bred ourselves into ghosts." Medical science was only just beginning to understand heredity at the time. Charles Darwin, himself married to his cousin, warned about the risks of inbreeding in his later works. But by then, damage had already taken root in the parlors and nurseries of America's elite. Women were sent away, their names removed from portraits. Others were married off in secret, never to be seen again. One diary from the Peabody family describes a cousin who lived in the attic for 30 years and was fed by a servant who was sworn to secrecy. Another record from the Randolph family lists an unnamed daughter who was born wrong and died young. No gravestone, no baptismal record, just an entry in a dusty ledger. Some of these families still exist today. Their names grace universities, foundations, museums. But the stories of their daughters remain buried beneath those monuments, tragedies tucked between family Bibles and faded portraits with empty eyes. These aren't ghost stories. They're historical facts obscured by pride and power. And while America loves its myth of rugged individualism, these stories reveal something else. A dark legacy built not just on revolution and expansion, but on fragile bloodlines preserved at great human cost. So the next time you walk through an old estate or glance at a founding family's name etched into stone, ask yourself, what was the cost of keeping their line pure? And what stories were silenced to maintain the illusion? And there you have it, America's hidden daughters, born into luxury, but trapped by legacy. Their beauty, their brilliance, and their suffering were all shaped by decisions made in the name of status and blood purity.
Subscribe
Behind
to my
every
channel.
polished family crest lies a story too painful to place in textbooks. If this glimpse into America's shadowed past left you wanting more, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for weekly untold history, and hit that bell so you never miss the stories they tried to erase. Which family or forgotten figure should we uncover next? Drop your suggestions in the comments. I read every single one. Until next time, stay curious, stay questioning, and remember, history isn't always what we were taught. It's often far darker.